The billionaire found a child's drawing in the kitchen. Black Waitress's silence explained everything. What if a single crayon drawing could change everything you thought you knew about someone? Marcus Ellsworth stood in his pristine kitchen at Aurelius, the restaurant he'd built from nothing into a culinary landmark, staring at a piece of construction paper taped inside the walk-in refrigerator. The drawing showed a stick figure woman in a server's apron holding hands with a smaller figure beneath a crooked yellow sun. Scrawled across the top in shaky letters, "Mama works hard so we can dream big." His eyes traveled to Sienna Brooks, the 26-year-old waitress who'd frozen mid-step when he walked in, her dark eyes wide with something between fear and defiance. She'd been reaching for the drawing, her fingers trembling, but now her hand dropped to her side. The silence between them felt heavy, loaded with secrets neither had spoken. Marcus didn't know it yet, but that small piece of paper would unravel everything he believed about success, sacrifice, and what it truly meant to be wealthy. "Where are you watching from?" Marcus Ellsworth had built Aurelius through relentless dedication and an eye for perfection that bordered on obsession. At 48, he owned 3 restaurants across the city, each one a testament to his journey from a line cook in Queens to a name whispered with respect in culinary circles. He arrived each morning at 5, checked inventory, tasted sauces, and ensured every detail met his exacting standards. His life ran like clockwork, predictable and controlled, exactly how he liked it. Sienna Brooks had been working at Aurelius for 8 months, always punctual, always efficient, always keeping her head down. She moved through the dining room with practiced grace, balancing trays and smiling at customers who rarely noticed her beyond the food she delivered. Marcus had noticed her work ethic, the way she never complained about double shifts or demanding customers, but he'd never really looked at her until now. "Is that yours?" he asked, gesturing to the drawing. His voice wasn't unkind, but it carried the weight of authority. Sienna's jaw tightened. "I'm sorry, Mr. Ellsworth. I'll remove it right away." She stepped forward, but he raised a hand. "I asked if it's yours. My daughter drew it." The words came out clipped, defensive. "She's 5. Sometimes she waits for me in the break room when daycare closes early. I know it's against policy." "You bring your child to work?" The question landed like an accusation. Sienna's shoulders straightened, pride fighting with fear. "Only when I have no other choice. My sitter got sick last week. Jamie drew that while I finished my shift. She was quiet, didn't bother anyone. It won't happen again." Marcus studied the drawing more carefully. The stick figure mother had a smile, but the child had drawn tears on the smaller figure's face. A detail that twisted something in his chest. "How often does she wait for you?" "That's not relevant, Mr. Ellsworth." Sienna's voice had gone cold, professional. "I'll make sure all personal items are removed from kitchen spaces. Is there anything else you need?" But Marcus couldn't stop looking at those crayon tears. His own daughter was grown now, living in California with a family of her own. He remembered the years when she was small, when his wife had juggled their daughter's schedule while he worked 80-hour weeks building his empire. He'd missed recitals and bedtimes, always promising he'd make it up to her later. Later had come and gone, and now they spoke maybe once a month. "What's your daughter's name?" he asked quietly. Sienna blinked, thrown by the gentleness in his tone. "Jamie. She writes well for 5. She's smart." A flicker of warmth broke through Sienna's guard. "Reads at a 2nd grade level already. Her teacher says she could skip kindergarten, but I want her to have a normal childhood, you know? To just be a kid while she can." Something in those words struck Marcus deeper than he wanted to admit. Before he could respond, his sous chef burst through the kitchen doors, crisis written across his face. The seafood delivery was wrong, the wrong cut of salmon, and they had a full reservation book that evening. Marcus's attention snapped back to business mode. "We'll discuss this later," he told Sienna, already moving toward the phone. She grabbed the drawing and disappeared before he could say another word, leaving him with a strange hollow feeling and questions he couldn't quite name. Over the next 3 days, Marcus found himself watching Sienna in ways he never had before. He noticed how she winced when she rolled her shoulders, the way exhaustion painted shadows beneath her eyes. She worked the lunch shift, left for 2 hours, then returned for dinner service, often staying until midnight to help clean. Other servers complained about difficult tables or aching feet. Sienna simply did her job without comment. On Thursday evening, Marcus overheard 2 line cooks talking during their break. "That's dedication," one said, nodding toward the dining room. "Working 60 hours here plus that overnight cleaning gig. I'd be dead." Marcus's head snapped up. "What overnight job?" The cook looked uncomfortable. "Sienna. She cleans office buildings from 1 to 5 in the morning, 4 days a week." "Thought you knew, boss." The math hit Marcus like cold water. If Sienna worked dinner service until midnight, then cleaned offices until 5, when did she sleep? When did she see her daughter? He pulled Sienna's employment file that afternoon. Single emergency contact, her mother, listed with an address in a neighborhood Marcus recognized as one struggling with poverty. Starting wage, no raises in 8 months despite exemplary performance. He stared at the numbers, feeling something uncomfortably close to shame. That night, Sienna served a table of businessmen celebrating a merger. They were loud, demanding, running her back and forth for extra bread, different wines, modifications to every dish. Marcus watched from the kitchen as she handled them with patient professionalism, never letting her smile slip even when one made an inappropriate comment about her appearance. When they left, their tip was deliberately small, coins scattered across a $100 check. Sienna collected the money without expression, but Marcus saw her fingers shake as she slipped it into her apron. $3 and change for 90 minutes of service. He made a decision then, one that surprised him. He walked into his office and pulled out the envelope he kept for staff bonuses, usually reserved for holidays. He wrote Sienna's name on it, added $500 bills, and waited for her shift to end. "Mr. Ellsworth?" Sienna looked startled when he called her into his office at 11:30. "Is something wrong?" "This is for you." He held out the envelope. "For exceptional service." She didn't take it. Instead, she looked at him with those tired, guarded eyes. "I don't need charity." "It's not charity. It's earned. I saw you watching me all week." Her voice trembled with barely controlled emotion. "I know what you think. Poor single mother, probably unreliable, probably going to ask for handouts. I don't want your pity, Mr. Ellsworth. I want to work." The accusation stung because part of it was true. He had been judging her, making assumptions. But something else had been happening too. He'd been seeing her, really seeing her, maybe for the first time. "Sienna." Jamie drew that picture because she wants to believe working hard matters. The words burst out of Sienna like she couldn't hold them anymore. She wants to believe her mama's sacrifice means something. "I can't let her down. I won't." If this moment touched your heart, please give this video a thumbs up. Before Marcus could respond, Sienna turned and walked out, leaving the envelope untouched on his desk and him wondering what kind of man he'd become. That kindness looked like insult. Marcus couldn't sleep that night. He kept seeing the pride in Sienna's eyes when she'd refused his money, the determination that bordered on desperation. At 3 in the morning, he found himself driving through empty streets to the office building where, according to his line cook, Sienna worked her overnight shift. He spotted her through a ground floor window, pushing a vacuum across an empty lobby, her movements mechanical with fatigue. She looked smaller somehow, diminished by exhaustion in a way that made his chest tight. When she bent to empty a trash can, she pressed one hand against her lower back and closed her eyes for just a moment, pain written clearly across her face. Marcus drove home feeling like a man looking at his own reflection and not recognizing what he saw. The next evening, Sienna didn't show up for her shift. Marcus told himself it wasn't his concern, that she was probably fine, but by 7 o'clock he was calling the emergency contact in her file. Sienna's mother answered on the 5th ring, her voice thick with worry. "This is Marcus Ellsworth from Aurelius. I'm looking for Sienna. She's at County Hospital," the woman interrupted. Collapsed at her cleaning job this morning. Exhaustion, the doctors said. Told her body would give out eventually. But does that girl ever listen? Her voice cracked. I got Jamie here with me, but I can't afford to miss my own work to stay with Sienna. That child's crying for her mama, and I don't know what to tell her. Marcus hung up and drove straight to the hospital. He found Sienna in a curtained emergency bay, hooked to an IV, her eyes closed. When he cleared his throat, she opened them and stared at him with something between horror and resignation. You don't have to fire me in person, she said quietly. I understand. Fire you. Marcus pulled a chair close to her bed. Sienna, I'm not here to fire you. I missed my shift. You collapsed from exhaustion. You're in a hospital bed. She turned her face away. I can't afford to be here. The bills will be covered. The words came out before Marcus fully thought them through, but he didn't regret them. Buy the restaurant. Workers' comp. I collapsed at my other job. Same difference. He leaned forward. Sienna, why didn't you ask for help? A raise, different hours, anything. Her laugh was bitter. You think I haven't asked for help? You know how many jobs I applied for before I started cleaning offices? 43. You know how many people look at a single black mother with no college degree and see potential instead of a liability? She met his eyes. I've been asking for help my whole life, Mr. Ellsworth. This is what help looks like. Me, working until my body gives out, trying to show Jamie that hard work and dignity matter more than handouts. Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you worked, it would never be enough? Let us know in the comments. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He thought about his own daughter, how he'd worked those brutal hours to give her opportunities, to prove that success was possible. But he'd had advantages Sienna never had: connections, capital, a safety net. He'd never had to choose between sleeping and survival. What if there was another way? He asked softly. Sienna closed her eyes again. There isn't. Not for people like me. But Marcus was already thinking, already planning, wondering if maybe this time he could do better than just watching from the kitchen. Marcus made 3 phone calls from the hospital parking lot. The first was to his HR director, authorizing an immediate raise for Sienna and a promotion to shift supervisor with better hours. The second was to his accountant, instructing him to create an education fund. The third was to his daughter in California. Dad. Jessica sounded surprised. They hadn't spoken in 6 weeks. Is everything okay? I need to ask you something, Marcus said. When you were little, did you know how much I worked? Did you understand why I was never home? A long pause. I knew you were building something important, but I also knew I came second to that dream. Her voice softened. Why are you asking? Marcus told her about Sienna, about Jamie's drawing with the tears, about a woman working herself into a hospital bed to give her daughter a chance. I look at her and I see myself 30 years ago. Except she's carrying twice the load with half the resources, and I never noticed. I've been so focused on running my restaurants perfectly that I forgot to see the people making it possible. What are you going to do? Jessica asked. I'm going to offer her a real chance. And then, Marcus swallowed hard, I'm going to call my daughter more than once a month. If she'll tolerate her old man trying to make up for lost time. He heard Jessica's smile through the phone. I think she'd like that very much. 2 days later, Sienna returned to work against her doctor's advice. Marcus was waiting for her in his office with a folder of papers and a resolve that had only strengthened. Before you say anything, he began, I need you to listen. Really listen. Sienna sat stiffly, hands folded in her lap. You're right. I didn't see you. I saw a server doing her job, and that's all. I didn't see the mother working 3 jobs, the woman sacrificing sleep and health and time with her daughter because she believed hard work mattered. But I see you now, Sienna. And I'm offering you a choice. He slid the papers across his desk. Shift supervisor position, $24 an hour, benefits including child care assistance and health insurance. Consistent hours, 5 to 11, Wednesday through Sunday. You quit the cleaning job. You go home to Jamie and sleep in your own bed. Sienna's hands shook as she touched the papers. Why? Because Jamie drew her mother with a smile and herself with tears, and that's wrong. Because you reminded me what I forgot somewhere along the way. That success isn't just about building something big, it's about lifting people up while you do it. Marcus's voice grew rough with emotion. Because you deserve a chance to dream too. If you've been moved by this story, subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming tales. Tears streamed down Sienna's face as she signed the papers. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you. But the real transformation was just beginning, and neither of them knew yet how much one act of seeing someone truly could change. 3 months later, Marcus stood in Aurelius's kitchen watching Sienna train 2 new servers with patience and skill. She'd taken to the supervisor role like she was born for it, bringing not just efficiency but genuine care to how she managed the staff. The dark circles under her eyes had faded. She laughed more. She'd mentioned last week that Jamie had joined a school art program, that they'd gone to the park on Sunday, that sleeping felt like a luxury she was finally allowed to enjoy. But the real change was subtler, deeper. Sienna had started suggesting small improvements to the restaurant's operations, ideas Marcus implemented because they were smart. She'd proposed a staff meal program so servers could eat before shifts. She'd reorganized the schedule to give parents priority on family-friendly hours. Each suggestion made Aurelius run better while making people's lives more manageable. You're thinking too small, Marcus told her one evening after service. These ideas, this leadership, you could run your own place. Sienna looked startled. Mr. Ellsworth. Marcus. And I'm serious. What if I told you I'm opening a 4th restaurant next year? And I need someone I trust to manage it. Someone who understands what it means to work hard and what it takes to treat people right. I don't have the experience. You have something better. You have empathy. You see people. He smiled. You saw me too, you know. Made me realize I'd become the kind of boss who valued perfection over humanity. I called my daughter after our hospital conversation. We talk twice a week now. She's visiting next month, bringing my grandkids. First time in 3 years. Sienna's eyes glistened. Because of our conversation? Because you reminded me what matters. Marcus pulled out a business plan he'd been working on. The new place will have on-site childcare for staff, living wages, profit sharing. I want to prove you can run a successful business and still treat people with dignity. Will you help me do that? She took the plan with trembling hands, scanning pages that outlined not just a restaurant but a revolution in how he wanted to do business. Why me? Because Jamie drew you with a smile and herself with tears, and you worked yourself into a hospital bed to change that. Because you taught me that real wealth isn't what you build, it's who you lift while building it. Marcus's voice grew soft. Because everyone deserves someone who sees them, Sienna. And I want to create places where people are seen. Sienna wiped her eyes, reading through tear-blurred vision, then looked up with a smile that transformed her whole face. Okay, yes. Let's do this. 4 months after that, Marcus attended the grand opening of Haven, the 4th restaurant in his collection and the first one named for its purpose rather than grandeur. On the wall near the entrance hung a framed child's drawing. A stick figure woman in an apron holding hands with a smaller figure beneath a yellow sun. Both figures were smiling now. Below it, a small plaque read, "Never forget why we work, to dream, to lift, to see each other truly." Jamie stood beside her mother at the ribbon cutting, wearing a tiny chef's hat someone had given her, beaming with pride as cameras flashed. And Marcus, watching them, felt wealthier than his bank account had ever made him. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more heartwarming tales that remind us what truly matters. Thank you for joining us on this journey. May we all learn to see each other a little more clearly, and lift each other a little higher.